Commander Thea Winter never expected to find an alien princess in the frozen wastes of Europa. The research station's proximity alerts had triggered at 300 hours, warning of an unknown object breaching Jupiter's moon's thick ice sheet. Initial scans suggested a vessel of some kind, but its composition defied their sensors' analysis. "Status report," Thea demanded, her breath visible in the station's rapidly cooling air. The impact had damaged their thermal regulators, and the eternal cold of Europa was seeping in through the station's bones. "Object appears to be crystalline in nature," Lieutenant Reed responded, his fingers dancing across the holographic display. "It's radiating some kind of energy signature we've never seen before. And Commander, there's something alive in there." Thea adjusted her thermal suit and checked her oxygen reserves. "Prep the rescue pod. I'm going out there." "But Commander, protocols state." "Protocols didn't account for first contact in the middle of an ice storm." Thea cut him off. "Keep the channels open and monitor my vitals." The surface of Europa was beautiful and lethal. Sheets of ice stretched endlessly in every direction, carved into fantastic shapes by methane geysers and tidal forces. Thea's boots crunched through the frost as she approached the crash site, her helmet sensors picking up increasingly strange readings. The vessel, if it could be called that, resembled a massive shard of amethyst half buried in the ice. Its surface rippled with patterns of light that seemed to respond to her presence. As Thea drew closer, a section of the crystal became transparent, revealing the chamber within. Inside, suspended in a lattice of light, was a being unlike anything human eyes had ever witnessed. Her form was vaguely humanoid, but her skin appeared to be made of living crystal, refracting the emergency lights from Thea's suit in mesmerizing patterns. Her eyes, when they opened, held the depth of spiral galaxies. The alien's lips moved, and somehow, impossibly, Thea heard her voice inside her mind. "Help! The assassins! They found me." Thea didn't hesitate. She activated her plasma torch and began cutting through the crystalline hull, which yielded surprisingly easily to her tools. The alien princess, for Thea somehow knew that's what she was, reached out with a hand that seemed carved from living diamond. As their fingers touched, Thea's world exploded into color and sensation. Images flooded her mind. A civilization of crystal beings living in vast cities that orbited distant suns, a royal court filled with intrigue and danger, and a desperate flight across the stars to escape those who would shatter the princess's form and steal her essence. "I am Nixis," the princess communicated, her thoughts carrying undertones of fear and gratitude. "Third facet of the crystalline dominion. They seek to absorb my pattern, to use my resonance to destabilize the grand lattice." Warning klaxons blared in Thea's helmet. "Commander," Reed's voice crackled through her comm. "Multiple objects entering Europa's orbit. They're not matching any known configurations." Thea wrapped her arms around Nixis's surprisingly warm form. "Hold tight, Your Highness. My station has the best defenses in the solar system, and I didn't survive 3 icequakes and a methane storm to let some space pirates crash my party." As they made their way back through the storm, Nixis's crystal body began to pulse with a soft light that seemed to ward off the worst of the cold. "You risk much for one you do not know," she observed. "That's kind of our thing," Thea replied, watching as the station's defense grid powered up, creating a shimming barrier against the approaching threat. "Humans, I mean. We're curious to a fault and stubborn as hell. Plus, I've got questions about that trick you're doing with the light, and I can't get answers if you're captured by space criminals." The princess's crystalline features shifted in what might have been a smile. "Perhaps there is truth in the whispers, then. The stories that speak of humans as the great catalysts, the species that will either unite the galaxy or unmake it. Let's focus on getting inside first," Thea said, though her mind raced with the implications. "Then you can tell me all about these stories over a hot cup of coffee. Assuming you can drink coffee. I can adapt my form to process your sustenance," Nixis replied, then added with what Thea swore was a touch of humor. though I believe I would prefer what you call hot chocolate. As they reached the airlock, the first shots from the pursuing ships lit up Europa's eternal night like artificial stars. The game of cat and mouse had begun, but Thea felt strangely confident. After all, if humanity was going to make its grand entrance onto the galactic stage, saving a crystal princess seemed like a pretty good way to start. Little did she know that this was only the beginning, and that her actions today would set in motion events that would reshape not just her own destiny, but the fate of two civilizations. The real question was, what price would be asked in return for helping royalty of the stars? The Europa Research Station's mess hall had never hosted royalty before, much less an alien princess who sparkled like a constellation given form. Nixis sat across from Thea, cradling a mug of hot chocolate between crystalline hands that chimed softly when they touched the ceramic. "Your defensive systems are impressive," Nixis said, watching the holographic display showing the wreckage of the assassin's ships scattered across Europa's icy surface. "Though I fear you have made powerful enemies today." Lieutenant Reed, standing guard by the door, snorted. "Those ships didn't seem so tough." "Those were merely the hunters," Nixis replied, her galaxy-deep eyes dimming. "It is their masters you should fear. The Obsidian Syndicate has agents in every major civilization across 3 spiral arms." Before Thea could respond, the station's AI chimed an alert. "Commander Winter, multiple vessels have emerged from Fold space. Energy signatures suggest crystalline Dominion origin." Thea straightened in her chair. "Your people?" "My father," Nixis whispered, her form shimmering with what might have been anxiety. "The High Resonator himself." The arrival of King Vrax's fleet turned Europa's orbit into a light show visible from Jupiter. 7 ships, each carved from what appeared to be single massive crystals of different colors, arranged themselves in a perfect geometric pattern around the moon. Within the hour, the station's docking bay housed a delegation that made Nixis look positively mundane by comparison. King Vrax stood 9 feet tall, his body a complex lattice of sapphire and diamond that seemed to bend light itself around him. His retinue included guards whose bodies were carved from ruby and advisors who appeared to be living columns of emerald. "Commander Winter," Vrax's voice resonated through the chamber, carrying harmonics that made the station's metal walls vibrate. "You have saved my daughter from a fate worse than shattering." Thea bowed slightly, remembering Nix's hasty lessons in crystalline etiquette. "Your luminance, we're just glad we could help." "Help." Vrax's form shifted, creating patterns that hurt Thea's eyes to look at directly. "You have done far more than help. You have preserved the future of our civilization. The Obsidian Syndicate sought to use my daughter's unique resonance pattern to destabilize our entire society." One of the Emerald advisors stepped forward. "My lord, perhaps we should discuss matters of state in private." "No," Vrax's tone carried a finality that brooked no argument. "The humans have proven themselves worthy of truth." "Commander Winter, what do you know of quantum consciousness?" Thea glanced at Reed, who shrugged. "Only theoretical concepts, your luminance. The idea that consciousness might have quantum properties that connect to the fundamental fabric of reality. For your species, yes. Theory. For us, it is existence itself." Vrax gestured, and the air between them filled with crystalline structures that moved and shifted like living mathematics. "We are living quantum computers, each of us a node in a vast network of consciousness. My daughter possesses a unique quantum signature that acts as a key to our collective awareness. In the wrong hands, it could be used to corrupt our entire species." The Syndicate, Thea realized. They weren't trying to kidnap her. They were trying to steal your species' soul. "Precisely." Vrax's form pulsed with approval. "And now we face a dilemma. The Syndicate knows of her location. They will not stop. Traditional safeguards have failed. We require innovation, something they would never expect." Nixis moved to her father's side, her crystal form harmonizing with his. "You have a solution in mind." "I do." Vrax turned his full attention to Thea, and she felt the weight of eons in his gaze. Commander Winter, how would you like to become the first human to undergo quantum crystallization? The room erupted in chaos. The Emerald advisors buzzed with alarmed harmonics. Reed's hand instinctively moved to his weapon, and even Nix's seemed shocked into silence. Father, the process has never been attempted on organic life. The risks are necessary. Vrax cut her off. Think, daughter. Your would-be captors expect us to hide you in our cities, to surround you with guards. They would never imagine us entrusting your safety to a human, much less one who has been given the ability to tap into our quantum network. Thea's mind raced with implications. You want to make me like you? Turn me into a crystal being? Not exactly. Vrax's form shifted into what Thea was learning to recognize as an expression of deep thought. You would retain your organic form, but gain a crystalline aspect, a quantum harmony that would allow you to resonate with our kind, to access abilities no human has ever possessed. You would become a bridge between our species and Nix's personal guardian. And if I refuse, then we leave with no ill will, grateful for what you have already done. But know this, the Syndicate now knows of Earth. They have seen human potential. You saved my daughter through ingenuity and courage alone. Imagine what you could do with the power of the stars themselves at your command. Thea looked at Nixis, seeing not just a princess now, but someone who had fled across the galaxy in terror of those who would unmake her very being. She thought of Earth, still taking its first steps into space, unaware of the vast powers moving in the darkness between stars. What's the catch? She asked, drawing on years of diplomatic experience. This kind of gift has to come with strings attached. Vrax's crystalline form chimed with what might have been laughter. Perceptive. Yes, there would be conditions. The process would bind you to our laws, make you answerable to our courts. You would be both protector and ambassador, charged with helping forge a lasting alliance between our peoples. And he paused, his form rippling with complex patterns. There would be no going back. The changes would be permanent. The station hummed with tension as Thea considered the offer. Through the viewport, Jupiter hung like a painted backdrop, a reminder of humanity's achievements and aspirations. On one side stood her duty to Earth, her life's work, everything familiar. On the other, an adventure beyond imagination, and the chance to help shape humanity's first steps into a larger universe. She looked at her reflection in the metal wall, wondering if it would be the last time she saw herself as purely human. Before I decide, I need to know everything. No hidden clauses, no diplomatic surprises. What exactly does quantum crystallization entail? As Vrax began to explain, none of them noticed the small distortion in space near the station's outer hull, where something that had once been human, and was now mostly crystal, watched with great interest. The game was becoming far more complex than anyone had planned. The crystallization chamber is ready, Commander Winter, announced the Emerald advisor, whom Thea now knew as First Resonator Zix. The chamber in question dominated the central hall of King Vrax's flagship, a massive geometric structure that seemed to be made of light as much as crystal. After 3 days of preparation and briefings, the moment of transformation had arrived. Lieutenant Reed stood at attention nearby, representing Earth's interests as the official witness. His usual stoic expression couldn't quite hide his concern. You don't have to do this, Commander, he said quietly. We can find another way to protect the princess. Thea smiled, already wearing the ceremonial crystalline robes that would help facilitate the process. When humans first looked up at the stars, we dreamed of moments like this. Besides, someone needs to make sure Earth has a voice in what's coming. Nix's approach, her crystal form emanating gentle harmonics that Thea had learned to interpret as comfort. The process will not be easy. Your consciousness will need to adapt to quantum states that your species has never experienced. Some candidates do not survive the transition. You could have mentioned that earlier, Reed muttered. Would it have changed her decision? Nixis asked, her galaxy eyes studying him. No, Thea answered for him. It wouldn't have. King Vrax entered with his court, their combined presence making the chamber resonate with complex harmonies. Are you prepared, Commander Winter? Once we begin, there can be no turning back. Thea took a deep breath and stepped into the crystallization chamber. I'm ready. The process began slowly. Crystal formations grew around her feet, not consuming her flesh but somehow merging with it, creating patterns that flowed like water but felt solid as diamond. The sensation was strange but not painful, almost like being submerged in warm, tingling light. Then the quantum interface initiated, and Thea's world exploded. Her consciousness expanded beyond the boundaries of ordinary spacetime. She saw the quantum framework of reality itself, the hidden strings that bound all matter together. She felt the vast network of crystalline minds stretching across the galaxy, each one a note in an infinite symphony. But something was wrong. In the quantum realm, she detected a discordant presence, a shadow moving through the crystalline network. With her newfound awareness, she could see what the others couldn't: the corruption spreading through the system. Subtle, but undeniable. Stop the process. She tried to shout, but her voice was lost in the transformation. The crystal had reached her chest now, and with each passing moment, her perception grew sharper, more acute. She could see the truth that had been hidden from everyone, even King Vrax himself. The Obsidian Syndicate hadn't just been trying to kidnap Nixus. They had already succeeded once before. The princess had been compromised. A quantum virus lying dormant in her crystal matrix, waiting for the right moment to spread throughout the entire crystalline dominion. With tremendous effort, Thea forced her consciousness to focus, to push through the overwhelming flood of quantum data. She reached out with her partially crystallized form and touched Nixus's quantum signature directly. The princess gasped as Thea's mind made contact. In that moment of connection, everything became clear. Nixus hadn't known she was carrying the virus, but now she could feel it too, could sense the corruption waiting to spread. Father, Nixus cried out. She speaks the truth. I am infected. The chamber erupted into chaos. The Emerald advisors began emergency shutdown procedures, but Thea knew they wouldn't be fast enough. With her human consciousness still partially separate from the crystalline network, she could see what needed to be done. She pushed herself fully into the quantum realm, using her unique hybrid state to do what no pure crystal being could. She isolated the virus, drawing it into herself like a quantum filter. The pain was excruciating, but her human stubbornness, combined with her new crystalline power, gave her the strength to contain it. What is she doing? Reed demanded, watching as Thea's form began to pulse with dark energy. Something impossible, Zix whispered. She's using her partial transformation state to quarantine the infection. No full crystal being could do this. We're too interconnected with the network. But she's both inside and outside the system. King Vrax stepped forward, his form radiating concern and amazement. Commander Winter, if you continue this, the virus will corrupt you instead. You'll be lost to both our worlds. Through the haze of pain and quantum noise, Thea managed to smile. Then we better figure out how to cure it, hadn't we? Because I'm not letting go until we do. The crystallization process hung suspended, neither advancing nor retreating. Thea existed in a state between states, her consciousness bridging realities while containing a quantum virus that could destroy an entire civilization. But in that moment of crisis, she had proved something vital. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its technology or its weapons, but in its ability to adapt, to stand apart while standing together. Nixus pressed her crystalline hand against the chamber's surface. Why? Why risk everything for us? Because that's what humans do, Reed answered for his commander, his voice filled with pride. We jump into fires to save strangers. We dive into frozen lakes to rescue the drowning. And apparently, we volunteer to become crystal beings to protect alien princesses. But as the royal scientists rush to find a way to save both Thea and their civilization, None of them noticed that the mysterious observer from before had vanished, carrying with it information that would change everything. The game wasn't just becoming more complex, it was about to shatter completely. Time moved strangely in quantum quarantine. For Thea, suspended between human and crystal form, each moment stretched into infinity while simultaneously passing in a blur. The virus within her pulsed and writhed, trying to break free, but her hybrid nature kept it contained. For now. Through the crystalline network, she could sense the Dominion scientists working frantically to find a cure. But more interesting were the fragments of data she caught from the virus itself. It wasn't just a weapon. It was a key to something far more sinister. "I'm picking up patterns," she communicated through the quantum link. "This virus, it's not random. It's searching for something specific in your network." First Resonator Zix's emerald form shifted closer to the chamber. What kind of patterns? Star maps. Ancient ones. It's like it's trying to locate something that was hidden long ago. King Vrax's presence in the network suddenly intensified. Impossible. Those records were sealed during the first crystallization. But before anyone could question this revelation, alarms blared throughout the ship. Lieutenant Reed's voice cut through the quantum chatter. Multiple ships dropping out of fold space. They're like nothing I've ever seen. Through the viewport, dark shapes emerge, vessels that seem to be made of pure shadow, absorbing both light and crystal energy. At their center was a ship that made Thea's hybrid senses recoil. It was neither crystal nor shadow, but something in between, wrong in a way that defied description. "The fallen resonator," Nixis whispered, her form dimming with fear. He was supposed to be a myth. The ship's quantum communications crackled to life, and a voice that sounded like breaking crystal filled the chamber. "My dear brother Vrax, still hiding behind your walls of light, I've come to collect what's mine." Obsidian. Vrax's tone carried centuries of pain. "You were banished for a reason. The ancient keys must remain lost." "Lost?" The dark voice laughed. "No, brother, not lost. Hidden. Hidden by our ancestors because they were afraid of true power. Just as you were afraid of my experiments with human quantum integration." Thea's consciousness sparked with sudden understanding. The mysterious observer, the virus, the strange ship, they were all connected. "He's been experimenting on humans," she broadcast through the network, "creating his own hybrids." "Very good, Commander Winter." Obsidian's voice carried a hint of admiration. "You see, brother, even your new pet human figured it out faster than you. Humans have such potential. Their consciousness isn't bound by our rigid patterns. They can achieve transformations we never dreamed possible." Through her quantum senses, Thea detected movement on the shadow ships. Figures emerged that triggered both her human instincts and crystal awareness. Beings that were neither fully human nor purely crystal, their forms twisted into impossible geometries. "What have you done to them?" Reed demanded, his horror evident even through the quantum network. "I improved them," Obsidian replied. "Just as Vrax seeks to improve you, Commander Winter. Though his method is so conservative, a gentle merger of forms, a careful balance. My subjects embraced true transformation, and now they will help me claim what the ancients try to hide. The quantum coordinates to the birthplace of our species." Thea's containment of the virus suddenly made terrible sense. The virus isn't a weapon. It's a decoder. You infected Nixis because her royal quantum signature could access the sealed records. And now you hold that key within you. Obsidian's voice grew hungry. A human mind, partially crystallized, containing the very virus designed to unlock our greatest secrets. "You are the perfect bridge, Commander. Surrender to me, and I will complete your transformation in ways my brother never dared attempt." The hybrid beings moved closer to the ship, their twisted forms leaving trails of quantum distortion in their wake. In the crystallization chamber, Thea felt the virus respond to their presence, pushing harder against her mental barriers. But in that moment of pressure, She saw something else through her unique perspective, a flaw in Obsidian's transformation process, a fundamental instability in his hybrids. Their human consciousness wasn't merging with the crystal matrix. It was being overwritten, destroyed. "You're not improving humans," she broadcast, making sure her thoughts reach every being in the fleet. "You're erasing everything that makes them human. Their adaptability, their creativity, the very things you claim to value. You're just creating puppets with human shells." The hybrid beings faltered, their movements becoming erratic. Through the quantum network, Thea sensed confusion, then panic, as their remaining human consciousness began to fight against their crystalline programming. "Enough." Obsidian's ship pulsed with dark energy. "If you won't surrender the virus willingly, I'll simply take it, along with everything else you are." As shadow beams lanced out from the dark fleet, Thea made a decision that would change two civilizations forever. She pushed herself deeper into the quantum realm, not fighting the virus but embracing it, using her human intuition to understand its pattern, while her crystalline aspect contained its power. "Lieutenant Reed," she called out through both verbal and quantum channels, "remember that ice fishing trip on Europa? How we survived the methane storm?" Reed's eyes widened with understanding. "Sometimes you have to break the ice to escape what's beneath it." "Exactly." Thea smiled, her partially crystallized form beginning to glow with new purpose. "Your luminance, I hope you're ready for some very unorthodox quantum mechanics, because I think I just figured out how to turn this virus into something else entirely." As Obsidian's forces closed in, Thea prepared to prove that humanity's greatest gift wasn't just adaptation. It was the ability to change the rules of the game itself. The only question was, would she survive her own transformation long enough to save everyone else? In the quantum realm, inspiration strikes like lightning, instantaneous yet echoing through eternity. As Thea stood suspended between states, the virus within her trying to decode ancient star maps, she realized that its very nature was the key to everything. "Your luminance," she called to King Vrax through the network. The first crystallization wasn't just about sealing records, was it? It was about evolution itself. The king's crystal form pulsed with ancient memory. "How could you know?" "Because this virus isn't just searching for coordinates. It's trying to access genetic memory. Your ancestors didn't just hide a location. They locked away your species' ability to transform naturally." Obsidian's dark fleet hung in space. Shadow beams held it ready. His twisted hybrids circled the ship, their forms becoming increasingly unstable as their remaining human consciousness fought against their crystalline programming. "Clever little human," Obsidian's voice carried both anger and admiration. "But knowing the truth changes nothing. The ancients were fools to fear transformation. Look at what I've achieved." "You mean look at what you've destroyed," Thea countered. Through her unique quantum perspective, she could see the pain in his hybrid creatures, the fractured remains of human minds crying out in trapped silence. "But I think I understand now. You didn't just want power, you wanted to evolve. To become something greater. You just forgot the most important part of evolution." "And what's that?" Obsidian's ship pulsed with dark energy. "Choice." Thea began to move her consciousness through the virus's code, not fighting it but redirecting it, using her human intuition to reshape its purpose. Real evolution isn't about forcing change. It's about creating the conditions where change can happen naturally. Lieutenant Reed's voice cut through the quantum chatter. "Commander, the hybrid ships are showing signs of structural instability. Whatever you're doing, it's affecting them. Because they're connected to the same quantum network," First Resonator Zix realized. The virus in Commander Winter isn't just a key to the past. It's a key to all crystalline transformation protocols. Thea felt Obsidian's rage ripple through space itself. "Enough. Fire all weapons. Take her by force." But in that moment, Thea completed her transformation of the virus. Instead of forcing her way into the ancient records, she used her hybrid nature to understand them. to see what both humans and crystal beings had missed. The virus became something new in her quantum matrix, not a weapon or a key, but a bridge. Your ancestors didn't lock away transformation because they feared it. She broadcast to all ships, her voice carrying through both normal and quantum channels. They locked it away because it wasn't time yet. They were waiting for something. For what? Nixis asked, her crystal form shimmering with curiosity. For us. For humans. For a species that could help guide the process. Thea's partially crystallized form began to glow with new understanding. The first crystallization wasn't about limitation. It was about preparation. They knew someday you'd need to evolve again, but you'd need help to do it right. Through the quantum network, Thea released her transformed virus, but instead of corrupting or decoding, it offered choice. To Obsidian's hybrids, it provided the strength to either accept or reject their crystalline nature. To the crystalline dominion, it restored the ability to grow, to change, to become something new, but only if they chose to. The effect was immediate and stunning. The hybrid beings stopped their attack, their forms shifting as their human consciousness gained control. Some chose to retain elements of their crystalline nature, while others began reverting to human form. They were no longer puppets, but true bridges between species. No. Obsidian's ship charged its main weapon. I will not let centuries of work be undone by some half-transformed human. Brother. King Vrax's voice carried both sadness and determination. You sought to force the future, but the future arrives on its own terms. The crystalline fleet moved in perfect geometric harmony, their combined energy surrounding Obsidian's dark ships. But they didn't attack. Instead, they offered the same choice Thea's transformed virus had given everyone else. The chance to evolve naturally, to become something new through cooperation rather than force. In her crystallization chamber, Thea felt her own transformation stabilize. She would never be fully human again, but neither would she be purely crystal. She had become something else, a true bridge between species, proof that evolution worked best when guided by wisdom rather than forced by power. So, Reed said as the crisis subsided, watching the hybrid beings being welcomed aboard the crystal ships, I guess this means Earth's first official contact with alien life is going to be pretty interesting to explain. Thea laughed, her voice chiming with crystalline overtones. Just wait until they hear about the part where we helped an ancient species rediscover natural evolution through the power of human stubbornness. Princess Nixis approached the chamber, her form radiant with new possibility. You've given us back our future, Commander Winter, and shown us that true strength lies not in forcing change, but in helping it happen naturally. As Jupiter's light played across the gathered ships, Thea thought about the journey ahead. Earth would need to be prepared for its new role in the galaxy. The crystalline dominion would need guidance as it explored its restored ability to evolve. And somewhere out there, other species might be waiting for their own bridges to the future. Well, she said, watching her crystalline aspects shimmer in the starlight, I always wanted to explore strange new worlds. I just didn't expect to become one in the process. The transformed virus continued to spread through the quantum network, not as a weapon or a tool, but as a gift. The gift of choice, of natural evolution, of finding one's own path to the future. And in that moment, as human ingenuity merged with crystalline wisdom, the stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter, as if welcoming the birth of something entirely new in the vast expanse of space. The bridge between stars had been built, not through force or fear, but through understanding and choice. And that was just the beginning.